In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere, along with the settings I use to get the sound you're hearing. If that's something that interests you, stick around. So Rode Microphones has been on a bit of a tear this year. Earlier in the year, they released the Wireless Go, and this month, actually, they released two microphones, the Rode NTG5 location recording kit, which I have right here, and right after that, they released the Video Mic NTG. I actually own two Rode products. I have a Rode lavalier mic, and I have a little Rode video mic. And I had picked these up over the years with my own money. In this case, Rode, however, reached out to me and they asked me if I was interested in sharing my thoughts on the Rode NTG5, and they sent me this kit out for free. All they asked is that I share my thoughts with my audience, and that's it. They didn't tell me what my thoughts had to be, if I had to talk about it in a favorable light, and they didn't offer me any other compensation. So I just want you to be aware, like I always like to let you know if I didn't purchase something, just so that you have that information if that matters to you. It matters to me. Also keep in mind that my thoughts and opinions on this channel are always going to remain my own. So I'm not gonna, it wouldn't be acceptable to me if somebody gave me something and told me I had to say something I didn't believe in. So now that we got all that out of the way, let's open the box. Let's see what's inside. Inside the box, you have the NTG5 microphone, and it is a small microphone. It comes with a foam windshield, and it is beautiful. It is light. It is aluminum. It is well-made, well-manufactured, feels good in the hand, feels like a quality product. Of course, the proof is in the pudding, right? How does it sound? And incidentally, you're listening to it right now. This whole video is recorded with the NTG5, and I am applying some enhancements in post. And let me talk about that, all right? This video is not going to be a super technical video where I try to prove the specs through real-world testing. This video is going to, there's plenty of videos, incidentally, that already go through that in tremendous detail, better detail than I could. So my video is focused on the practical aspects of it, in that I don't live in a vacuum, I don't work in a vacuum, I don't use this microphone in a vacuum. I have a computer off to my left, I have a NAS disk station behind me with 5 disk drives and some fans. My room is not really acoustically treated. I do have carpeting, but aside from that, this is a real world scenario that I'm in, and I have to deal and mitigate those sounds. And I'm using the hardware to capture my voice, but I will apply some noise reduction and stuff to take things further to produce the sound that you hear here. And I imagine many of you who might consider getting this mic might be in a similar situation. You might want to vlog from home, and I'm going to show you how I mitigate those things. That's what this video is going to be geared toward, is that the practical aspect of what you can do to achieve the quality of sound that I'm achieving here. The location recording kit comes with the PG2R pistol grip, and it's, again, another nice quality piece of hardware. It has a shock mount that you have to kind of attach, but that's obviously important to reduce the amount of noise you get, like handling noise or movement noise. The pistol grip actually can be handheld, and it can be articulated in a variety of angles, which is really helpful. And it's very easy to do, and it feels really, really good. It also comes with the PG2R shock mount cable, and that allows you to connect the microphone to another cable, and it prevents you from perhaps putting too much pressure, too much weight, too much tension and torque on your XLR cable. And that cable actually fits in the recessed area of the shock mount nicely, so it's kind of out of your way. It also comes with the WS10 large windshield, so you can take it outside, and you know, they call these a dead cat, right? But it helps attenuate wind noise. It also comes with the RM5 microphone stand mount, so you can mount this on your traditional microphone, and it actually has an adapter inside of it as well, so you can fit different types of microphone stands. So the whole kit retails for $4.99, and as you can see, there's a lot in the box. It's designed for you to pick up and go. Like, you don't have to worry about, oh my God, do I have to buy this accessory or this adapter? It has everything that you're going to need to use it. Again, it's designed for mobility, and it's designed for getting out there and capturing fantastic audio, and it does capture fantastic audio. I appreciate the sound quality. I appreciate the uncolored sound that it picks up, so that you can make adjustments to it. So at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for in a microphone, is a microphone that is a quality mic that picks up the finer details, and then you take that data and you apply your enhancements to it to get the audio quality that you're looking for. So who is this microphone for? Well, let's see. It's got an XLR cable, so that means you're not going to be using it if you're a vlogger that wants to connect this directly into your camera. You're going to need a field recorder. I have a Tascam 100 MK2, and so it does have XLR inputs on the bottom. And with that, I could record independently here and mix later, or I could record and take the output and put it into my camera, but it becomes unwieldy in that kind of a scenario. So your typical vlogger probably isn't going to want to get this particular microphone. They do have the video mic NTG that just came out, and it's like the same microphone. It's I think it's a little smaller, and it is designed to go right into your camera. So I would be looking at that because it literally came out like, I think 2 weeks after this was released. So they have an answer to that. Rode is known for making video mics, very popular by YouTubers and such. Not that you couldn't use this though. So I have this connected into my Focusrite 2i4 right now as we speak, and it's certainly fine for that as well. If you're a stationary vlogger, if you sit in front of a camera in a particular location and you have hardware like an audio interface to connect into your computer, then this is actually a great microphone for doing that as well. The quality is really top notch. You do have to be mindful of how you place the mic, this type of mic, because shotgun mics, you know, they have a great pickup pattern in front of them. They reject noise on the outside, but you kind of have to angle it like top down 45 degrees generally, or up 45 degrees, because they tend to pick up some noise behind them. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so let's take a look at how I have this all connected. I have 48 volts of phantom power enabled on my Focusrite 2i4. I have my analog gain set to like the 10:30, 11 o'clock position, and my line instrument switch set to line. Software-wise, I am running Windows 10, and if I look at my microphone settings, my input settings are set to the Focusrite USB. And if I check out the device properties, I have the volume set to 100, so I'm letting the full signal in. And if I look at the additional properties, you'll see that I have it set to 2-channel, 24-bit, 96 kilohertz. To capture my audio, I use Adobe Premiere, and normally you'll be over here in editing mode. And if you want to see the audio controls, one quick way to do that is to click the audio tab. And a lot of times this will actually be compacted there. So this is the audio track mixer. We want to expand that. So you're going to hit this little arrow here. And these are effects that you can apply. This is the effects rack. So here are the effects that I've applied. And here's what that sounds like. Computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio. Okay, so with that said, let's take a look at what these settings are, why I apply them, and let's start on track 3. So incidentally, audio track 1, A1 corresponds to this track right here. This is actually my camera audio, and I have that muted. This is the audio that I actually collected by hitting this little microphone icon when I started recording and while filming, actually. And so simultaneously it records here on this track, but you could also import a track there if that's what you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually copy the track. So I'm going to say Alt, hold down the Alt key and drag down. And I'll do that with this track as well, just for kicks. I'm going to move my scrubber to the left. And let's take a look. I'm going to mute this track. And since I have no effects, actually I do have an effect here. I'm going to move this over and just turn that off for now. So yeah, so basically these are effects applied to individual channels, and this is the main master track. So basically whatever you apply here is going to affect all the tracks. And whatever you apply on these individual tracks will only affect that individual track. So, all right, we're looking at track 3. That's where I've placed this. I've muted everything else. Let's hear what the microphone sounds like without any effects applied. To my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture. So you can hear it's very low. And incidentally, I did have the gain on my Focusrite set really high on the right channel, and there's nothing connected to it. So I'm going to solo the left channel so we don't hear any of that noise. And let's hear that again. Computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in. Okay, so that is what it sounds like normally. Obviously, we want it to be louder. So the first effect I'm going to apply is the amplify. So we'll go here, amplitude and compression, and we're going to select amplify. Incidentally, I'm going to click over here and see what I have it set to. I have it set to 10 dB. So let's set this one to 10 dB so I can mimic the same settings. So by doing that, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere. So you can hear it's louder now, which is it's going to be helpful in us analyzing things. The other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to copy. I'm going to unclick this so we could hear both channels. I'm going to fill the right with the left. So if you go here, special, you can see we're going to fill the right, stereo track with the left signal. So let's do that so that we can hear our sound in both ears. To my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in. All right, so I'm going to do something a little bit out of order for the sake of demonstration. I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to copy my single band compressor settings to my master output. There's nothing going on this channel. I was just saving this here as a placeholder. But I'm going to go here and I just need this for the gain right now. So I'm just going to kind of remove all these values so it does nothing but give me some gain. So I'm going to adjust the output gain, and I'm going to adjust that to 15 because I want you to hear some subtle changes that I'm going to be making. So let's hear what that sounds like. To my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in. All right, I'm clipping a little bit, but that's okay. I could dial it down a little bit, I guess, if I want here. Let's do that. To my computer, Okay. I'm going to be changing those settings later anyway, but the next thing I want to do is I want to denoise this. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select noise reduction, and I'm going to get rid of some of the noise. And I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to set that to 40%. And let's hear what this is doing. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere. So you can adjust this slider. I like 40%. That sounds good. If you want to see what you're removing here. So again, I have all these computers making a ton of noise in this office. So I do need some noise reduction to help out. And you can play with the this selection here to hear what this slider is doing to your signal. So let's listen to that, just the noise. Connected to my computer. What hardware I'm using, all of that hardware dialed in, and I'm going to capture the audio in Adobe Premiere along with the settings I use to get that. So that's the part of the signal that I'm removing, and that's very helpful for me in my particular situation. So I'm going to leave that on, and this is what that sounds like. My computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my parametric equalizer, and that is over here. I can go to Filter and EQ, select Parametric Equalizer, and here I'm going to make some adjustments to kind of clean things up. So I have the default selected, and in fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy over my other settings to save some time. So I'm going to just drag this over. And now when I open it up, it has the settings I want. And let me show you what I've done here. So you can actually, there's a bunch of points here. And normally this line is flat, which means it doesn't affect your waveform at all when it's flat at 0 dB. But what you can do are cut out unwanted frequencies. In this case, I turned on the high pass filter, and incidentally, any of these things can be toggled on or off. Any of these points, I have 1, 2, and 3 are on. 4 is over here. I could turn it off. This is ultimately what I was going for, but the high pass filter allows me to cut off low frequencies that I'm not interested in. It's a high pass filter. It means it allows high frequencies to go through. So everything to the left doesn't go through in this particular case. I also set the gain ratio here to 48 dB, and this affects the slope of that cutoff frequency. So in my case, I have this set to 79 Hertz, and I'm going to show you what that does as I manipulate it. So let's hear that. Let's actually go back here. Start from the beginning. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in. So you can see that's going to cut off frequencies, and it becomes undesirable. I'm cutting off frequencies that I want the higher I go. But I'm kind of comfortable with removing the 79 Hertz and below. I don't believe the human voice can actually even produce frequencies that low. So that means I'm going to be able to eliminate 60 Hertz noise and things like that. So even if the human voice can produce it, I don't think it's very pronounced. And how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere, along with the settings I use to get the sound you're hearing. If that's something that interests you, stick around. All right. So I've hit my 79, and I'm hearing in my headset static as I do this. I hope that's not being recorded, but that's just some sort of an artifact that's happening right now as I move the sliders. It shouldn't really affect my recording once everything's set. It's just a matter of, for some reason, things are sliding and making some weird noises. All right, the next thing I want to do is there are undesirable sounds at different frequencies in my room, and I have to, or actually, with my voice, with the echoing, and the way you find that is you take one of these points and you set the width, the Q width, to like 15, so it's nice and tight. You're kind of almost creating some sort of a notch filter. And what I'm going to do is amplify those sounds. And when I find those frequencies that are undesirable to the human ear, I'm going to pull them down to about -10 dB. And that's what I've done in these 3 cases. So let's hear what that sounds like as you search for it, so you know what you're looking for, because it's going to change depending on your environment. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere, along with the settings I use to get the sound you're hearing. If that's something that interests you, stick around. So about there is where I started hearing some weird echoing and such. So I'm going to pull that down there. And let's see, I found one around here as well, so let's hear what that sounds like. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere, along with the settings I use. So you heard that. It sounded like I was talking into a cup, so I didn't like that. So I pulled it down so that it's out. And then there's one up here as well. And before I move that, I'm just going to turn this off to flatten my graph here so that it's a little easier to find. Let's roll back and search for that third frequency. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and how I capture the audio in Adobe Premiere, along with the settings I use to get the sound you're hearing. All right, that was a lot more subtle. I might have been listening to a different portion of my audio when I actually originally set this, but I'm going to set it to what I had it for, or had it set to, which is that frequency. And we're going to put that again at -10. And the last thing we're going to do is just going to raise some of the higher frequencies by turning this on. I've already kind of set this. This is a nice flat slope. You can actually adjust the curve. But ultimately, I like this. It seems to make things clearer and crisper. So let's hear that as I play around with that setting. If that's something that interests you. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Rode NTG5 location recording kit. I'm going to show you what's in the box, how I have it connected to my computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in. All right, so those were my final settings for everything. I do have a low pass filter, this thing turned on. So essentially we're rolling off some of the very high frequencies. There aren't many, and you can adjust that like anything else. This is where I seem to like it. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little amplification. Actually, this is the second to last thing. So let's put that here and let's see what this setting was set to. It was 5 dB. And so all I'm doing is I'm adding 5 dB so my signal is stronger. Let's play that back. It's going to be a little too loud actually. So before we even do that, let me remember before. So one other thing I'm going to do on the way out is on my main mixer is I'm going to make some adjustments here. And I added a considerable amount of gain here and I turned a lot of these things off. So let's talk about that. So let's get rid of this and let me just copy these settings over so I have the final settings. I don't need this anymore. So what do I have here? So basically the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compress my signal. What does that mean? It means that any, your signal is like a waveform. It's like a sinusoidal wave, and any signal that goes above 20 dB. So here's your signal bouncing around. When anything that goes above 20 dB, there's occasional spikes. We're going to crush it 3-to-1. So those peaks that go above 20 dB will be compressed 3-to-1. And what that does is it makes your signal louder, I guess, right? It's compressing it. So if you're normalizing and things like that, you don't have a wide variance. So 3-to-1 seems reasonable to me. I'm leaving these things at the default 10 millisecond for the attack and 100 milliseconds release, and that's just how quickly it starts compressing and how slowly it releases that compression. And then lastly, you can apply an output gain to that as well. So I have chosen 5 dB, and this is what everything sounds like in the end. My computer, what hardware I'm using, how I have that hardware dialed in, and that's it. That's a real world example of how I'm using the Rode NTG5 connected to a Focusrite 2i4 and recorded into Adobe Premiere Pro and compensating for a less than ideal recording environment with effects applied in Adobe Premiere Pro. Anyway, that's all I've got. As always, I've included a link to everything discussed in the video description below. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and more important than anything else, be kind to one another.